Hello and welcome to Whisky Resource. My name is Mark. This is review number 166. I have to apologise if you get some noise in the background. It's the dog. She's busy tucking into some animal part. Apologise. I've had her since January. Okay, so another review today. Today I'll be looking at the Jura 14-year-old American Rye Cask finish whiskey. Like Jura's, this one was matured in ex-bourbon casks before, they don't say, but a finishing period in American rye casks. So bourbon and rye should go well together. A lot of American bourbons do contain quite a percentage of rye content. Typically 51% rye content would make the whiskey a rye whiskey. A 51% corn content would make it a bourbon. So that's the label there. Bottle of 40% ABV. Undoubtedly it has been coloured, and undoubtedly it has also been chill filtered. So that is the whiskey. Let's go ahead and pour it. So I picked this up from Sainsbury's. It was £30. Reduced down from 40, but you also got this Jura Glencairn for free, but we're selling them for £5. So I could argue that this is £25 and the glass was a fiver. We know the Glencairns don't necessarily cost that much, but that is about the retail price of a Glencairn, about £5. So £25 for a 14-year-old Jura whiskey. Thank you very much. You can see I didn't need a lot of persuading for that. And whatever it is that my dog is eating, it stinks. Like most dog treats, they stink. It does, it stinks, girl. It does, it stinks. Pooh. Whiffy. Okay. Anyway. So, I've not tried the Jura 12-year-old, so it's pretty much jumped from the last review of the Jura, which was a 10-year-old, up to this, the 14-year-old Rye Cask finish. Now, already on the nose, before it even goes near me nose, it is smelling quite pungent. Yeah, that is very much. This could be the mind playing tricks. Impressionable rather, but it is very much jumping out of the class as an American bourbon, a rye maybe. It's got those quite strong vanilla citrus notes, bit of maple. I always associate maple with bourbons. It's a note I can't seem to get rid of, although typically Jack Daniels is where you would get maple from, being slow filtered through maple. It is spicy, as you'd imagine. If I was given this blind, I would have said that this was an American whiskey and not a Scotch. Of course, Jura is a Scotch. Now, I'm a bit boned up at the moment. You can probably tell by some of the words I'm using or saying, my pronunciation, but with hay fever. And this is doing a good job cutting through that nose block. It's a really nice nose. I do enjoy that. It's reminding me of a hot toddy with some lemon, which I quite often have to try and ease off cold symptoms. That is nice. On the palate. Right, oh, the first thing that immediately came to mind when I took a sip there was Drambuie. I got a hefty hit of a kind of a honeyed, methylated, medicated syrup, almost, that just went straight up the sinuses and kind of shifted things aside. It is undoubtedly a Jura. It's got those notes of heather honey that you can pick up, I suppose, sometimes in Jura, and you're getting lemon, you're getting a herbaceous element, but you're also getting that American implement. You're getting the, hello, what are you doing? You saying hello to the camera? Yeah? Hello? Hi? So it does have those Jura elements, and it also has those elements of very much a bourbon and or a rye influenced whiskey. This is a bit of a complex one for me because I do enjoy a good bourbon. I mean, who doesn't enjoy a good bourbon? You're not going to enjoy a bad bourbon, are you? So that's without saying. For some reason, for me, this doesn't work. This is trying to be the best of both worlds. It's shouting, I'm a Scotch, but they also, at the same breath, shouting, I'm an American whiskey. It's like the two casks have been vatted together into some hybrid, and no one form is taking the lead and stamping its identity onto it. Luna, no, leave that alone. That's mine. No. It can't decide whether this wants to be wholly a rye or whether it wants to be you are getting those elements of rye or those bourbon. I want to say bourbon, I want to say rye constantly, because the way that the whole drinks market in the US is structured, ryes, bourbons are very, very similar. You can have a bourbon that's 51% corn, 49% rye, nothing else. You can have a rye that's 51% rye, 49% corn, nothing else. Those two whiskies, one will be a rye, one will be a bourbon. You're not really going to tell an awful lot of difference between the two. There are so much similarities between the two. But at the same point, you could take a 99% rye, 100% rye, 100% corn, compare the two, and there'll be no similarities. So there's such a polarising view to the whole thing. So there's such a massive scope of difference between a bourbon and a rye. But there's such massive similarities between a bourbon and a rye. I'm always going to be drawn to the two. But if we go American whiskey as a whole, this is like an American whiskey, but it's also like a Scotch. It's not delicate. It's not shy. It's got quite strong flavours. I'll say for certain, if you do not like bourbons, if you do not like American whiskies, you will not like this. I think if you do like American whiskies and you don't like Scotch, you probably will like this. This could be a slow introduction into Scotch if you aren't a fan. I don't think this is going to be a slow introduction into bourbon, however, if you're not a fan. Would I buy another bottle? No, I wouldn't. Now, you can pick this up. I think Asda are selling for £32. Masters of Malt, it's somewhere around £41. As I say, over the Father's Day weekend, it was on offer in Sainsbury's for £30 with the free Glencairn, which you can also buy for a £5. I wouldn't buy another bottle of this. It's going to be one of these bottles I think I'm going to shove in the cupboard and pick up every now and again and go, ooh, I fancy that. But no, I think it's lost a bit of the Jura identity to it. It's a bit there on the nose. It's totally overwhelmed on the palate. It's too heavy American influence on the palate. I was expecting it more to be a Scotch with glimmers of maybe some aniseed, maybe cardamom, maybe licorice, maybe a menthol kick that you would get from rye. Whilst that is there, it's too strong, it's too dominating. It's overwhelming the Jura spirit beneath it. I think there's probably a reason why, unfortunately, Jura, why this is priced the way it is. I think it was thought it would be well received, but it's not been, possibly. Is that a fair assumption to make? What can we say? We can't really say much more about it. It's one of those, if you like American, go for it. If you don't like American, you're really not going to like it. Stick with your Scotch. Laters.